A lot like yesterday, trying something new, but sticking with the Tales vibe. Welcome to this episode of Tales from Your Server. Our first one is from Post-Narcissism. I work in downtown Denver and had a couple of hours before an appointment, so I decided to get lunch. I'll occasionally pop into one of the places I used to work at because I know the food is good, etc. Every time I go into this one place, I remember what happened to me one time 20 years ago. I was having a beer and the bar was slow, so I was chatting with the bartender and telling the story to him. 20 years ago, I was a server at this popular place, and they had a no cell phone policy. Yes, we had cell phones 20 years ago. You had to leave it in your locker or get written up. I already had one write-up, so I put mine in my locker and went about greeting my first table. It was slow and I had the urge to urinate, so I went before the rush would hit. I washed my hands and tried to open the door and nothing. The lock had broken. I started knocking on the door. Now, the employee bathroom was located back by the lockers, kind of tucked off in a corner of the kitchen, away from the line where people would be. So I started pounding on the door. Anytime I heard a noise, I'd pound on the door and yell, but the noise of a busy kitchen and lunch rush drowned me out. 15 minutes go by, still no one. Another 10 minutes. Now I'm wondering, how am I going to get out of this and how long I'm going to be stuck in here? Then I heard a noise close by and I started yelling and pounding on the door. Someone had gone to their locker for cigarettes. They heard me. They told me I had been triple sat and they couldn't find me and the managers were furious with me. Of course, I'm relating my situation to them. They get the manager who comes over and tells me to open the door. Duh, I can't. They had to track down the maintenance guy who was another 20 minutes away, but luckily the hinges were on the outside of the door and he was able to get me out. By now I'd been in there for the better part of an hour. First thing the manager said to me, they said with anger in their voice, "Why didn't you just call us with your cell phone?" Of course, they also had to check the lock to make sure I wasn't making the story up, and I wasn't. My first table was understanding and laughed about it with me, but left me no tip. I didn't get sat another table that day. So I finished telling the bartender this story. I go to use the restroom and when I come back, he's confirmed with the general manager the reason the employee bathroom has a sliding bolt latch instead of a lock on the door handle is so an employee can't get locked in there. The GM never knew who that person was though, as they had taken over years after I had left. They both bought me a beer. The funny bit in all this is how the manager was getting mad at you for not calling them when they have the policy in place that you're not allowed to have your cell phones. I definitely understand wanting to keep people off of their phones while they're working, but in a situation like this would be considered an emergency. This next tale is by FWOX. I work in a super high volume, high-end craft bar that gets clubby on the weekends. Last week, a semi-regular came in and I don't know what happened, but she legit just hated me. So rude, wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't order from me, complained about me to my coworkers. It was outrageous, but I forgot about it by the next day because, duh. She came in tonight, made a point of stopping me, and apologized. Of course I told her it's fine, not to worry, things happen, but she was not having it, insisted on making amends. My faith in humanity has been restored. One could argue maybe that lady was just having a really bad day and for some reason you just set her off, I don't know. The fact that she actually apologized though speaks volumes about her. This next tale is from Flaming Dwagon 84. So I just started a new job yesterday. Our truck broke down and I needed somewhere walking distance. As a cashier, mom and pop place. The owners are the absolute sweetest people ever. Everyone that comes in loves the food. We have people traveling far for it. Well, this asshole and his family came in for his first visit. He didn't like one of the two types of fish we serve and wanted a free replacement. Well, it being not corporate, we're allowed to tell people no here. The owners just told me that it's not like it was wrong. He had to pay for a replacement since he just didn't like it. He and I had a back and forth where he kept demanding a manager and not believing the policy. Owner came out and was like, sorry, it's a small business. You can't be comping that stuff just because you didn't like it. Guys, he called the fucking cops. I've been in the industry for 25 years, and this was the most Karen thing I've ever seen. I heard him talking about a piece of fish on the phone, and I was like, no fucking way, and told my bosses. 10 minutes later, a cop walked in and I ran to them to tell them the cops were here. There was talk of him suing apparently. Sweet tough lady owner told me to stay in the back as long as possible. The place was pretty busy. It was my second day and I wasn't supposed to be alone, but they feed us and are the best people I think I've ever worked for. I just wanted to share this story. The owners definitely seem like awesome people. That guy and his family, or rather the male Karen, not so much. And the fact that he called the cops on a piece of fucking fish, wow. This next tale is by Nan Banana. For info, I work at a pizza joint in my city. The pizzas, and mostly prep work actually, are all made in a wood-fired oven, which is unfortunately located in the dining room for show. Let's set the scene, shall we? A Friday night around 6 to 7, peak dinner hours. Restaurant is packed full of guests and people lining up waiting to be seated. There's a 7-top containing I think maybe 3 adults and the rest are toddlers and children. Everything was running smooth until about halfway into their meal. Then I started noticing how many runaway toddlers were wandering about the restaurant with no supervision. At this point, there are multiple families eating, and I frankly don't have the time, so I have no idea where some of these kids belong. And then it happens. I walk across the restaurant to check on my to-go server, and find one of my line cooks trying nicely to nudge this little girl off the line and away from the ovens. I grabbed her hand and pulled her away from the kitchen as quickly as I could. Just angry, saying, no, 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 over and over while I search for her parents. Mom quickly runs over after that, scoops her daughter up, says, I'm so sorry, and carries her away. I will tell you, I was livid. The party ended up staying for quite a while longer, and you'll never believe it, but as soon as they sat back down, it took no time for the adults to get back to talking and let the kids run around again. I can't stand these prissy rich families that think we work in a McDonald's playground. Just because it's pizza doesn't make it any less of a hazard. We store knives, dump hot ashes into metal buckets, and we have chopped up wood all around that area. Your kid could seriously get hurt. Please fucking watch your kids. The parents like this that literally take their kids places but then don't supervise their kids and then let them run around like a fucking chicken with their head cut off, I completely relate. I don't understand how people can think that's okay, but unfortunately in their small brains, they clearly do. And our final tale is from Ravioli Wizard. I've been a server for over 6 years, on and off. I only work a few times a month now as I have a full-time 9 to 5. I expected my worst serving experiences were behind me, but last night proved me wrong. I was very busy juggling 8 tables at once. I was literally running and sweating because of how busy it was. It all started when a woman asked for a side of butter. I told her that I would get it for her. I had to go to the bar and dropped off some drinks. She then yelled at me about the butter. It had been maybe 45 seconds. I said I haven't even been to the kitchen since, but I was getting it right away. I ran to the kitchen, ran out her butter, dropped it, and ran back. Apparently I threw the butter on the table. It's possible I didn't do it super gentle, but it wasn't meant to be aggressive or anything. She complained to the manager and told him what an evil person I am. He didn't care, but assured her it wasn't malicious. He told me to just continue to be nice. I kept checking up. How's it going? Everything good over here? Let me know if I can get you anything. And they stayed mostly quiet. At the end, I gave them the check, and after 5 minutes of her intently reading the check, I asked if everything was okay. This is where she got so out of hand. She said I ruined their entire night. How terrible and malicious I was, and my attitude ruined her birthday. She kept being hateful, to a point where I just had to walk away and have my manager take care of it. My manager took care of their bill and told her to leave. She then went to the front to berate me more. I finally couldn't hold it in and outburst with, "Stop! Please leave me alone. I've been nothing but nice to you. Just leave." And she continued throwing her nasty words at me and told my manager I couldn't speak to her like that. My manager repeated exactly what I said and told her to leave as well. My coworkers also demanded for her to leave. Some customers joined in too after witnessing her behavior. As she tried to yell at me more, I was unprofessional and looked her in the eye and said, "Some people are just miserable." All the tables around her assured me I couldn't have done anything different, but I still feel at fault for some reason. I know this was an overreaction on her part, but I kind of feel unsafe and scared now. I've never experienced anything like this as a server. Edit, thank you for all your reassuring words. Now that I've been able to sleep on it 2 times, I feel so much better. I think it was just shocking initially. I appreciate every single one of you. May your microwaved food always heat evenly, your back never ache, and your days be fulfilling. Why do I feel like this Karen had an idea to get a free meal, didn't get the free meal, and then ended up freaking out even more? I feel like she was expecting her perceived bad service to end up getting her a discount on that tab. Alright, that's enough tales for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Tales from Your Server. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload. And drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my patrons. Have a great day and stay safe out there.